Hello everybody, I'm your host, Sweetheart YT, and this is the first ever installment of a show called the show where you tell me in terms as specific or general as you'd like what you'd like to see. Today we have a request from Little Mike. Little Mike has informed me that she would like to see a video about Swedish Fish while I am dressed in a suit. And that is exactly what we're here to do today. You notice I actually have a bag of Swedish Fish right here. I purchased these Swedish Fish from CVS. That is where you could buy them if you wish. When you look at a bag of Swedish Fish or a box, do you first consider Swedish or fish? I don't know. But what I do know is that this food item was invented in the 1950s by a Swedish company. It is a gum candy, a wine gum candy. Perhaps you know it as a gummy candy, but that is what they are. It is looking pretty possible that these are indeed Swedish in nature. We notice here that they are a fat-free food. They're certainly not an American product, if that is the case. So it is possible that these are indeed Swedish in nature. When we turn the bag to the back, immediately these two fish here sunbathing grab your attention. And those fish indeed do say that they are Swedish on their bodies. However, if you look right here, you will notice that at least this bag of Swedish Fish was indeed made in Canada. So these are Canadian fish, no longer Swedish. But I suppose, now that we've solved one mystery, we're gonna have to solve another. And there's really not much left to this bag besides the nutrition facts. There's 110 calories per serving, no protein, no fat, as it said on the front of the package. And the ingredients are sugar, invert sugar, which I would like to believe is a kind of sugar that nullifies the other sugars that you eat. So that Swedish Fish are actually a dieting supplement, perhaps. After that invert sugar, we have corn syrup, modified cornstarch, and then citric acid, white mineral oil, and natural and artificial flavors. Unfortunately, I was expecting there to be wine and gum in these candies, but there are none of those ingredients. Also, we were not told if there was any fish in these snacks. That is peculiar. I had expected them to list what kind of fish they used. But there's really nothing we can do to find out what fish they used besides actually taking a closer look at the food itself. If you notice here, they were so kind as to serrate the top of the package so that we could easily tear into it. We wouldn't want to have to struggle to get into our food, would we? You'll also notice that they serrated the bottom edge of the package. That's for any confused barbarians. If they're just dying of starvation, they can just rip into this bag in whichever manner they want, excluding the sides or the actual faces of the package. But they do have another option if their maddening starvation is just too out of control. But we here on Anything Goes, we're at least going to try to be civil today. So we're going to open the bag from the top. The old attempt at a right angle failed. That is okay. because we now have access to the inside of the bag. And here it is, the inside of the bag. You can see there are many of these strange creatures residing within it. And I am surprised to see that there is no water or salt water from which these fish would be able to derive oxygen from. It is indeed quite peculiar, but perhaps they're dried fish and they're not alive. And that's why they don't need water anymore, because they are indeed dead. The fish themselves don't particularly smell fishy at all. They smell like perhaps an old grandmother's house with a hint of cherry. We're just going to remove one from its cage. I'm noticing an immediate inconsistency. If you notice here, yes, that the Swedish fish on the package have the word Swedish written on their bodies, but these fish only have Swedish. I don't know if you can see that, but there is indeed no E on this fish. Well, no matter. The fish are opaque, but not incredibly opaque. You can still see through them a little bit when you hold them up to the light. I'm not sure what kind of evolutionary benefit that would have for this species of fish, but because they are slightly transparent, I'm able to look inside the body, and I'm not noticing any kind of skeleton or discernible internal structures. And I'm no marine biologist, but it was to my knowledge that fish had at least a backbone. Perhaps even gills. There is a visual cue of gills here by the head. Unfortunately, I'm not sure how functional those gills are. Well, as I said before, I'm not a marine biologist by any stretch of the imagination. So, who am I to say that a fish needs a backbone, or ribs, or any kind of internal organ for that matter? In fact, many creatures such as sea urchins, crabs, lobsters don't have a spine either. When I squish the Swedish fish, it folds in on itself, which is quite strange. But now that I've had a good look at the back of it, I realize that while this side certainly has scales and other features, the back side does not, which makes me consider the possibility that perhaps they cut these fish in half before packaging. I don't know. They don't seem to fit together properly, and they all seem to be of one half. They all seem to be the left half, and perhaps they split up the halves, kind of like Twix. I know that is another common snack. Right Twix and left Twix it is a hotly debated issue in mainstream society even to this day. Perhaps I just got a left Swedish fish package. But I would have liked to see both sides of this coin. It is very strange, but even though there are no internal organs, and I suppose I could assume that these originally had some sort of shell, like a crawdad or a lobster, I don't really know, because even those animals have organs. These don't, so they could be just one cell, I suppose, but even then it's a little too big, don't you think? I mean, it's been a while since I've taken a biology class, but I believe there was some problem with cells getting too big because there's the volume to surface area ratio just didn't work out at some point. They wouldn't be able to absorb the nutrients they needed. with the amount of space that they have on their membranes, but these are quite flat, so perhaps the nutrients can penetrate into the inside. I don't know, but something in my gut just tells me these fish aren't single-celled organisms. And I think I have decided that they are fish, because I can't say that they're not, and at least from this side, they certainly have the features of most fish, even have fins. So I'm going to assume they're fish. But before I eat this snack, and I'd like to point out that there are no warnings on this packaging about the proper preparation or consumption style of this fish. I'm going to have to microwave this fish because it's looking a little red to me. It's looking a little raw, I'm not going to lie. And I don't really feel like getting sick. So I'm going to go ahead and microwave this Swedish fish just so I can make sure that I kill any harmful things that could be residing within its flesh. And then we're going to have a taste. While that's going, I guess I'll just share a theory I have so far. Because the Swedish fish has red flesh, I'm gonna have to rule out that it's a tuna. And I know there are some tuna that have reddish flesh, but there's just something telling me that it's a salmon. Or a salmon, depending on how you like to say it. Regardless, it is a fish that I believe to be a salmon. And it is sizzling quite heavily, so I'm gonna take a look, because we may have burned it. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it is not looking too good for our fishy friend. It seems to me that he has expanded quite beyond his original intended size. And now it seems to be crystallizing rather rapidly. It's deflating. The air is coming out of the bubbles which made up its body. It's very strange because I'm not seeing any indication that there's a difference in even the skin and the interior of the fish. And it's very strange because I saw scales on one side of the fish. I would have assumed that those scales, if they were to have melted, would look a little different than the rest of it. But perhaps not. Perhaps not. I suppose I could have a quick taste. Certainly it won't harm me now. It has cooled. Very peculiar. I don't know if you guys can see this, but it seems to have made some sort of filament. You know, it almost reminds me of sugar, the way that it behaves when heated up and cooled. Well, it's very interesting. The Swedish fish, it doesn't have a particularly fishy taste. It even though it smells more like cherry when you sniff the bag, it really does have more of a cotton candy-esque taste to it. I think I'm not going to be eating any more of our poor melted fishy friend here today. I think we're going to have to set that off to the side. And just for you guys, I'm willing to go all the way. I'm willing to go on the edge. Indeed. I'm willing to eat a Swedish fish raw. I know, it's crazy. I might get sick. I could even become a Swedish fish. I don't know. Perhaps that is how they reproduce, is they just turn people that eat them raw into what they are. And in which case, perhaps I'm going to be harvested for my halves. But I'm willing to find out, in the name of science. Now, the question does arise, how exactly should we eat this? Because again, we have no instructions on the bag, not even an owner's manual within the actual package itself. Very strange. I don't know what to do with this, guys. But it seems a little inhumane to eat it from the face. I don't think that's necessary. So perhaps, well, I was going to bite the dorsal fin, but then I realized, why would I want to eat a fin? That's just strange. I think instead, I'm gonna have to just take a bite right out of the flesh, right out of the body of the fish here on the side. That would seem to be more normal because I'll be avoiding any bones or, well, if the bones are inside this creature. Maybe they're just so small I can't see them. I don't know, but I certainly don't want to bite into them and have to get bones stuck in my teeth. So let's just take a small bite out of the side. It is very sticky. It might just be because it's raw, but it's not flaking like a cooked fish would. It's formed a coating immediately on my molars. Well, that's very annoying. But not too terribly annoying, I suppose. And it has a pleasant taste to it. It does. It really tastes, when eaten raw, a lot more like cherry medicine than it does when it's been melted into a puddle. In fact, our little puddle friend here is now very hard. Very, very hard. It has turned into more of a rock. So what have we learned today? Well, we learned that these fish used to be Swedish, but at least this bag, they aren't. Fish is still a mystery. We don't know. We also know that the proper way of cooking these creatures is certainly not at a microwave, because even after 30 seconds, you just get a big puddle mess. Yes, I believe we have found that the most enjoyable and safe way, unless of course I turn into one, to eat these animals would be to take a bite out of the side. So, now that we have unveiled as many mysteries as we can, just sitting here in the storm, I have to beg one question to you, the viewer. If you had any desire to tell me something you'd like to see a video about, in as vague or as specific of terms as you choose, just let me know in the comment section below, and I will try to make that happen for you. Now, I have to admit, the resources at my disposal are not particularly vast, but hopefully, whatever you want us to do, hopefully, we can make that happen. I've been your host, Sweetheart White Tea, on Anything Goes, and I wish you all a blessed evening. Goodbye.